You got a lot of like reputable people who hit me about you.
What does it mean to be creatively unrestricted? Can you play the game of the music business while staying true to your craft and staying true to you? Wynne has spent her life in pursuit of these answers. From turning in raps as homework assignments to rocking ciphers, dropping albums, EPs, and headlining countrywide tours, she's never just made music. She's built a world where every bar and every move is a reflection of who she is. I hope you enjoy this episode of B-Scar TV with our very special guest, Wynne. And that, like, when they grow, like a tree will never just like grow up through another tree's branches. Mm-hmm. Like it knows when that tree is there and then like ends up like going around it. So it's all connected in that way. Like they communicate. And it's crazy because I'm a big indoor plant guy.
Yeah.
My plants do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
They grow in a way that complements each other.
Interesting. I don't have any that are like sitting close enough to each other that I would notice that. But I definitely noticed them like grow specifically into the space they're occupying. Like have a giant, what's that plant we have in the studio? It's a philodendron. And it's fucking huge.
Philodendron, I don't know what that is.
It's like, it's kind of like it's a low, big leaves kind of.
Okay.
And it's huge, like, you know, it's like this big. And usually they're like down here. And I put it in the corner because that's the only space I had. We had to move out of our studio. And it's like started to grow straight up in a weird way. Like,
right. If it can't grow into the wall, obviously.
And it's like, it'll curve around. Like I got things around it, it curves around them and it like reaches to the sunlight.
That's inspired. Yeah, I'm very much inspired by plants and trees.
Yeah, me too.
Which is just a perfect segue. Welcome to B-Scar TV.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
So we've been starting off each episode, which we've recorded 2 thus far for season 3. So you're the 3rd.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks coming threes.
Let's go. And the first question has been around inspiration.
Okay.
And so, like, when you think about yourself as a musician, as an artist, I'm curious where your inspiration comes from. You know, what's a source or examples of sources of inspiration for when it comes to creating music?
There's a lot. I mean, there's like the umbrella that is like the life I'm living, you know? So there's like, obviously I see everything through my own personal lens. So my relationships, whether that's with, you know, my partner or my parents, like the lives they're living, conversations that we have, my friends are a huge inspiration for me. Conversations that I have with them about art and music and life and people and community. And I would say that like, I brew on ideas. I'm not someone who like goes into the studio every single day and there's output. Like sometimes I have a beat for years before I'll write to it. And I feel like each time I go to the studio, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. But it could be a while before I'm churning out like an actual song that I love. And in that period, in that couple weeks, I'm just thinking about what I need to say. Like I was having conversations with myself and the fluidity of that. I guess like personal time, introspection, like reflecting on myself. I read a lot of like nonfiction books.
Okay.
History, like natural history, knowing my place like in the world. It's a lot. Music, the beats themselves. I tend to always write to a beat specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you'll lay those lyrics down over that beat, or there's... Okay.
Yeah, it's very like specific to like the emotion of the beat. I don't like beats that are like happy or like sad. I want them to be like longing or like inquisitive. Like I want like complex emotions in the beats.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like it's not very often that we're feeling like a simple emotion.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
It's typically complex and layered. So you need to try to listen for that in a beat.
Yes, 100%.
So from an inspiration standpoint, you just laid out two like very different like modes of inspiration. One being your community and like your people and like your relationships, right? Which is very much maybe external, I'd say. But then on the other side, there's just like what happens in time alone.
Processing. Yeah, I've always been like, I'm definitely an introvert. I've always been like an observer. I'm like a watcher. I think it came from partially being like the youngest in my family. So I was like, when it was a family gathering or, you know, if we're all having dinner together, I was always just kind of the quietest. And like my sister would talk and my parents would talk and my brother would talk. And I would just kind of listen and observe and like process on my own.
Yeah. In those relationships, when you're listening and the reading, that materializes into lyrics at some point in time.
Oh, yeah.
Have you found like a rhythm or a pattern of like, I get like my pen is ready to write lyrics after 6 weeks of introspection? Like, is there a science to it?
There's no science to it. There's definitely an urge. That's the worst is when you feel like you're like creatively ready, but you don't have like the sonic landscape that you need yet. Like, I really like prefer to write to beats. I'll write without them. Like I have my notes is like, you know, thousands full of just like 1 or 2 bars or like a concept.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna write a whole song, I definitely need like the sonic landscape first. Like I need to know like what the rhythm of the drums is. Right. I need to know what flow I should come with. Like I've spent a lot of time sharpening different like tools in my tool belt as far as like flows go. Yeah. And it's really important to me that when I'm like putting my vocals on a track that like I'm in the right place vocally and that's being like supported by the flow that I pick. Like, right. But I wouldn't say that there's like a science. It's a little chaotic for sure.
Are there artists that do it differently in their writing process that will write without beats?
Oh yeah, like you know, Milk. He's a dope rapper. He's from Northeast, but he's an incredible lyricist. Like probably the best freestyler I know. He doesn't write to beats really.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think a lot of rappers are like that. They just write like
yeah.
And then they hear a beat and they're like, I'm gonna rap this to this, and then they kind of find guess what. Okay. For me, like I tend to write the flow into my lyrics. Other people will just write lyrics and then find the flow. And I've definitely done that, and it's fun. Like it puts you in a different creative headspace because you'll come up with things that you wouldn't think of. Like that's why I think freestyling is so good. It's kind of like a palate cleanser for your brain.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because you can start with the beat or you can start with the lyrics and work either backwards or forwards, however you want to look at it. For me personally, I resonate with the nonfiction, like so downloading nonfiction information or data or whatever. Yeah. For me, documentaries have always been a source of inspiration. Reading. Yeah. I oftentimes forget how inspiring reading a book is.
Oh my gosh.
And it can be like, it actually doesn't need to be nonfiction. I think there's so much that like, nonfiction is the easiest to translate like into my own life. Like there's a Steve Jobs book over there by Walter Isaacson, which I absolutely loved and inspired a lot of what I did this year in 2024, because I finished it in 2024. It inspired a lot of the travels, how I think about business, how I think about creativity. Totally. Because it's just like the unpacking of this man who lived a whole life of that. Yeah. So inevitably, like you can't read that and not be inspired. Yeah. But there's also like the fiction side, a novel. What is one I read recently? The first that's coming to mind is Song of Achilles. I haven't read it. It's a good book. Yeah. It's like it's a fictional, obviously it's fictional. It's a take on the Greek myth of Achilles. And this woman, the woman who's the author, I forget her name, but she basically like takes the story and like adds her own kind of spin and narrative to it. And I was inspired by the character and just like how she like painted the scene and all that stuff. But
Totally.
you know, something that like, I'm not gonna lie, that maybe I'm drawing connections to Achilles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, fiction, nonfiction. I've, you know, downloaded a lot of inspiration from works like that.
I think with fiction too, I mean, I've always been like been a reader and a writer more so than like a mathematician or a scientist. And so for me, reading fiction is like, it's a lot like poetry. It's a lot like, I feel like it's like works a different part of your brain than like a nonfiction, like a self-help book does. So I get very different things from them. Like it's hard for me to fall asleep if I'm reading like an autobiography about somebody or versus like if I'm reading a story and I'm like putting myself in that. Because also like when you're reading, it's a lot like, I feel like it's a lot like breathing. Like when you're meditating, you have to focus on your breath. I feel like with reading, reading's gotten me through a lot because it's easy to just throw yourself into a book and just like kind of focus like word by word and sentence by sentence. And if you find that you've gone a page and you've been like, oh, I read that whole page and I wasn't even focused, like you go back and you read it there. So you're up. It's very.
Oh, I fucking hate that.
Yes.
I was like, it's the same paragraph like 7 times.
Literally. That was terrible.
Oh man.
But it's important. Then you have to go back. Then you refocus. Like it's a practice and focus.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you watch The Penguin?
No, I still need to watch The Penguin.
Am I like the fourth person to tell you to watch The Penguin?
Kind of, yeah. He's one of them.
You watched The Penguin?
I still haven't leave it.
You haven't watched The Penguin?
Just seeing the eyes.
Dude, have you watched The Penguin? It's fire. Oh my God.
What about like if I know nothing about DC?
You don't need to know anything about Batman.
Okay.
Robin, Catwoman, you don't need to know nothing.
No shit. All right,
no.
Perfect.
It's so good.
Perfect.
It's I mean, the acting is incredible. Colin Farrell is really good in it.
Yeah.
The like shooting and the imagery and like the way they tell the story is really good, and how they like unpack the characters, right? Because the Penguin is a villain in the Batman world and the DC world, but you know, the best stories, the best series, they always like make you empathize with the villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
In the Penguin, they did a really good job with that. And at the end of it, I'm not gonna spoil for you guys if you listen. I'm not gonna spoil, but they had the director's cut at the end. And I never like stayed to watch the director's cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when it's like, okay, director and producer come on and they talk about like how they made the movie. It's never been of interest to me until like now I'm getting more into like creativity and thinking about the art of it and these things. And the director was talking about how she knew what the end was going to be. She knew what like she wanted the viewer, the audience to feel at the end. Based on like, I already know the characters, I already know the setting, you know, like general plot. This is what I want them to feel at the end. This is the moment. And then like reverse engineer to figure out how do I get that shit to really hit at the end.
Man, that's insane. That's really insane. I've been trying to get more into like directing and trying to understand like really solid films and even like TV shows and how they get there, because it's like to be able to evoke emotion through a screen with a story is like a different set of skills.
Yeah.
That it's like hard to understand when you're a viewer and you're just watching a film. Like you feel like it's easy. You feel like, well, I feel this thing. But to think about reverse engineering from a very like complex emotion about sympathizing with a villain. Back on how many episodes are there? Like 10?
I think it's 10, something like that.
To have 10 episodes to draw out so you end at the right place is like, I'm excited to watch it.
Next level.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
I dove into your catalog.
Yeah.
It's deep.
It is kind of deep, yeah.
No, it's not kind of deep. It is deep. Yeah, I went back. I went back to, I started with If I May.
great place to start.
And then up through Some Like It Hot, up through Rug Burn, and the most recent one is Don't Tell Me. It's Dog in You.
Dog in Me.
Dog in Me, yeah.
And then,
Which is a savage song.
yeah, that's a savage.
Oh God.
That's a savage song. Vengeance.
Yeah, Vengeance. I was gonna try to draw it back to the Penguin, but I'm not gonna do that.
You might sympathize with me on that song a little bit. Like, you might. You might.
It's been 5 years since If I May.
Yeah.
So the 5-year anniversary has happened because If I May dropped in 2019.
October, yeah.
October, okay.
Yeah.
October 24. All right, we're 5 years in. General temp check. How are you feeling?
Wow, great question. I mean, it's interesting because it's like, it's the end of the year. And in December, I'm always like doing a lot of reflecting. And 5 years since If I May is like, it's crazy too because I dropped it like right before COVID hit. So there was like a really interesting time for creatives, for people in general, of just like self-reflection and solitude and like a lot of throwing paint at the wall. And throughout all of that, like, I think what I've found is I was doing what I wanted to be doing the whole time. Like, I went down all these different rabbit holes to like just see what they would feel like as a creative and like experiment more with singing, experiment with auto-tune, experiment with like different kinds of beats. And I listened back to If I May, and that at times I feel like I may have been like running from sonically, like trying to find a way to, I mean, I just needed development. Like, you listen to If I May, I was like 19, 20, 21 for most of those songs. And now I think, so like the vocal development I think helped, but I listen back and I'm like, damn, I was right on track. Like, I knew what I was doing. And a lot of that is just like self-exploration and just like figuring out what's important to you as you like step foot into the industry and you navigate different relationships and like see what makes you feel comfortable. And it's crazy that it's been that long since I dropped like a full length.
Yeah.
And we just started working on my next one. So
Let's go.
and it's deep. It's deep.
Okay.
I'm tired. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Damn. One song that stuck out to me was The Thesis on If I May.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it last night and just like, I heard a voice that was like, oh, this isn't Wynne rapping right now. And then I think it was a girl that was on there that was rapping.
Kayla J.
Yeah. And then Dame, I heard Dame's voice. And I was like, oh shit, like this is like packed with features.
Yeah.
And I looked and I saw Illmatic was on it as well. And I was like, damn, this is like a packed out song.
Pausica, yeah, and versatile too. Shout out to Verse.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I wanted to do something that was like, I came up like doing ciphers and like really focusing on like verse by verse and not thinking about hooks. And that's kind of like how I see like the Thesis showcase a little bit. It's not like a cipher, but it's like an array of artists with different skill getting up and presenting, you know, their 30-minute set. Yeah. And so I wanted to do a song that was kind of like an ode to that show that introduced me to so much of the Portland hip hop scene, but in the form of like a cipher record. So I just wanted to grab people from different corners of the city who have had different journeys and have made it to different places in their careers and just like put us all on one record next to each other.
Yeah. And then you called it The Thesis.
And then I called it The Thesis.
Shout out to the English classes back in the day. God, they was gonna be fun.
To some of my English teachers. English teachers held it down, yeah.
Same. Yeah. Actually.
Were you a math student or an English student?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little bit of like both sides. I have I'm probably lean more like loose creative, but I also like numbers and I like to get into like the engineering of things and like processes and stuff. But early on when I was in 8th grade, and you talk about teachers in 8th grade, I had my English teacher, Miss Romko. Miss Romko was so cool. She was hella cool. Some other people didn't really like her, but I fucking love Miss Romko. And we had like creative writing, and she really supported and encouraged my creative writing.
Yes.
And I remember I wrote this piece that I'm still proud of today. It was called The Zone. And it was about basically like this zone. It was about me playing basketball and like the zone that I would get in when I feel like, you know, like the ball was just like barely coming off my fingers, you know, and the rim looked huge, but I'm not even thinking about like the shot. It's just happening. Like the zone, you know, and I wrote it creatively, and, you know, the 8th grade me with like packed as many metaphors and stuff in there as I could. And she like, you know, corrected with the red pen, just like, love this, da-da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? You get it back like,
Man, that's always the best. Like, I feel like I had those similar teachers where it's like, sometimes you don't need someone, you just need encouragement. Like, I really believe that. I feel like people just need encouragement and they just need support. And like, I had English teachers like that too, where I remember being in 7th grade and I was rapping, and my English teacher, Mrs. Shank, shout out to Mrs. Shank, she was fire.
Mrs. Shank.
And she would let me like turn in raps instead of like essays. And she was the only person who I was telling that I rapped, because I was like just kind of by myself, and I was like, well, I kind of like write these raps. And she was super supportive, and like instead of poetry, instead of essays, she'd let me turn in like raps, and they were trash, but she was like, you've got this, like you can really do this, like and like that's what I needed to hear.
Did you tell her you wanted to be a rapper?
Oh yeah, and I even, to the point where when I graduated from high school, I like wrote her a letter, sent her a letter. She was in like Europe now, but I like sent her a letter. It was just like, I'm doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pressed. Yeah, so I feel that. Shout out to Miss Romko.
Yeah, it's so crazy how those little things is like what seemingly little things like that adults do in our lives. Then like inform and influence. The rest of them. And then as we grow into like adults, thinking about like,
remember that shit forever. Literally.
Thinking about how we like speak to kids, you know what I mean? And like those words really hold.
It's crucial.
So we're 5 years in from If I May. You have this deep catalog of work. How are you defining success in your career now?
I guess it's gotta be enjoyment. Like, it's gotta be how much I'm enjoying myself. And like, I think my ability to like feel unrestricted, like, I think that's something that is really tough, that I think anybody who ends up pursuing, maybe you can relate, like their passion as their career, it does change your relationship with it a little bit. And especially like, you know, you've got a team that relies on you and gets paid from you, and you still need to be able to make decisions for yourself and know that like the decision you're making is really a decision you're making for the whole team. So I think as long as I can feel unrestricted in my creative pursuits, that will allow me to enjoy it. And, you know, to me that means like, I like to work with my friends. I like to live in Portland. I don't want to move to LA. I don't want to work with a bunch of people I don't know. I don't feel comfortable in the studio with everybody. Like, I really like to write by myself. And there's room for me to be flexible, you know, like I'm happy to grow and change as my routine evolves. But there are like those core things to me that are super important. And as long as I can like continue to do those and we can all kind of elevate together, I think that's like successful.
Yeah, I like that word, unrestricted.
Yeah, it's important because there's a lot of temptations. Like, your goals can really change when you start to come across more people or get into an industry where there's a lot of money and there's a lot of opportunity. And like, I've always been very, like, steadfast in my goals, and I've been very, like, I don't want to move to LA. I don't want to work with a bunch of people I don't know. I don't feel comfortable in the studio with everybody. Like, I really like to write by myself. And there's room for me to be flexible, you know, like I'm happy to grow and change as my routine evolves. But there are like those core things to me that are super important. And as long as I can like continue to do those, I think I'll be, I think that's like successful.
Yeah, I like that word, unrestricted.
kind of stubborn to an extent. Like there's a lot of brand opportunities or show opportunities that we could have done for a bag, but I just don't want to do any of that. Like that's not really why I do it. I'm not doing it for the bag. And I don't want to align myself with things that like don't feel right in my core. And I have a great team who trusts me and trust my vision and has never like, you know, tried to sway me in one direction creatively or, you know, tell me that I need to look a certain way or make a certain thing. Like they let me steer the ship and they're just like my co-pilots.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to the team.
Shout out to the
Ty,
team.
RB.
Brain.
Brain. I rolly.
I roll it.
I rolly.
Yeah.
Yes, people now.
Nah.
Oh yeah, it's on B-Scar TV now, brother. Yeah, no, I think I've my creative pursuits have always been a passion.
Yeah.
This B-Scar TV has been out of passion and really a hobby
Yeah.
because I was playing football.
Right.
And this was just something that I was like, gave me a creative outlet that I didn't feel I necessarily had in ball or just something else that I wanted to do. But football always paid my bills.
Right.
And then you turn the lights out of football and the money stops coming in there. And then you look at the creative pursuits, the philanthropic pursuits, and now those become the business. And it resonated with me when you said like the relationship to the passion, it changes.
It changes.
It really does. And there's been tension for me even. And I'm like, I'm not like 5 years into it. Like this podcast is 3 years old. But like this tension maybe has happened like the last like 6 to 12 months. Maybe.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, like it's B-Scar TV, like it's gotta make money.
Right.
Like we gotta monetize, we gotta get sponsorship, ad reads, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And then it started to lose like the whole point of the reason that I do it.
Right.
And what I actually wanna do.
Totally.
And it's like Itai and I have had conversations about it, and RB too, is like realigning and like what are we actually doing this for? But I feel that there is often, because hearing it from you too, there's a tension between staying true to the craft, but then also the business side and the monetization of that craft.
Totally. I feel like it comes from like knowing yourself, like, and letting yourself be this like, just like a guide. Like I have a very strong like gut instinct and I'm very like, I guess I just don't feel like, I think because of that and like really just because of that, I'm like allowed myself to be very picky and selective. And, because of that, we're not living nearly as comfortable as we could be living. And the exchange is like, I get to sleep at night and like, I get to feel fulfilled in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
How do you like reconcile those choices?
I had a good conversation with Jalen Ladd, because he's modeled in some of the videos. Yeah. But Jalen's the homie, and we were talking at a party. Did I just mess with the audio? It's good. We were chatting at a party for the homie Amir's birthday not too long ago, and just sharing like some of what our creative agency is doing and all this, and like what I'm hoping to do, and some of this tension maybe, and like what's paying the bills versus like the passion and stuff. And he was like, he said something that was kind of profound. He was like when you're creatively, when you're pursuing your passion, like you never make money right away.
No. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're right. And it's like, I think about like, it took me 15 years before I got paid to play football. Yeah.
It's like that. And that's why like, no matter what I think about anybody for, who's made it in music or in sports or whatever. I mean, sports is different because it's like, it's not so, it's a little more objective. But they got there. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot to get to a level where you're like financially supporting yourself off of your passion. Like, it's a very like, it's a tightrope and it's a long journey. And like, I've been rapping since I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I would do like cypher competitions and like win a couple $100, but like,
Right.
I didn't sign my first like a deal where I got a real check until I was 19. I started really young. So like that helped me. But even still, it's like I'm 27. I'm still not like stable. Like we're still figuring it out and like trying to make sure that everybody's comfortable and like living very like under our means.
Yep.
But knowing and making those choices consciously, because that's what I want to do. I don't want my Instagram to be brand deals. I don't want to play shows that like with artists I don't fuck with or don't align with. Like I want to go brick by brick. And that's when you feel the reward, like once you're 3, 4, 5 years into the podcast and you're like, okay, damn, like I stuck to my guns.
Yeah. One thing I've actually found, like, how do I reconcile it? Another way I reconcile it is treating the business of it as a craft in itself too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you can look at like, there's the art and then there's the business. Like you could separate those two things and be like, nah, I'm just a pure artist, which is great. Like, but you can also like, what if you toe the line? What if you
did both?
What if you did both?
Yeah.
What if as you became a great artist, you also became a great business person, or like you flexed those muscles or got those reps on the business side while you're also getting the reps in the studio or on the set or whatever.
Yeah.
So then when the time comes, when it's like, oh shit, yeah, now people are like, really is hitting us up and they want this and want that, or there's the value that other people see in the whatever the art is.
100%.
That shit. We've been practicing on the business side too.
Yeah.
And treating it as a craft in itself.
Yes.
So I think like rearranging my perspective on the business and how it relates like to the art.
Yeah. I think like the common denominator, like in the Venn diagram of like the art and the business, like in the middle is like humanity and like who you are as a person. And so I feel like as I've navigated both, it's in either aspect, it's been about working on myself. And that's made me better at business. It's made me better at my art. It's like when I'm reading those, self-help books, or when I'm like just trying to understand myself, that's what's allowed me. In business, it's really like, it's communicating, it's people. And like, the better you know yourself, I feel like the better you know other people. Like you can find a little bit of yourself in everyone you talk to or do business with.
Yeah. And
I think that's helped me kind of bridge that gap too.
Yep.
And treating the business side as part of the art. Like literally, when I'm trying to think of the marketing or like the rollout, it's like, let me think about that as like world building. Let me think about that as like part of my album.
Right.
You're like, how do I want to tell this story? That's like part of the business side that I get to do. Like I have my wonderful team who helps me with emails and all that. That's not as like artful.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm just thinking about, like, I hate the word content. It's like, it's so soul-sucking. So like, it's so soul-sucking. But it's
quality content.
Oh my God. Can we fucking leave it in 2024?
Yeah.
But it's like, how can I exist on a platform that I don't even really want to be on with these like short form videos that I also like don't really want to shoot? How can I find a way to like make those artful and like make those feel like they're serving a purpose for the song, not for the platform that they're on?
Yeah.
And like, that's something that I think every artist is still trying to figure out. Like, how can this content I'm making not be serving my business, which it is for, but is like serving my music?
Right.
How is it like serving my art?
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to Jay-Z's podcast on Breakfast Club, like from 2003 or something. I actually talked to Lou about this. 2013, yeah. And I think it was in the Magna Carta tour that he was like doing his press run.
Yeah.
His press run for it, and it was talking about how he's like, I forgot how they got into it, but he said that he's been fortunate to be like good at music, but he's really good at the music business. And how some people like to like shame him about it, but like, I've just been fortunate to be good at the music business.
Right.
And he's somebody that I've looked up to as just from a business perspective, and
100%.
being, his own like creative asset in the way that he's leveraged it to all these different industries, but like makes really great music.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like an icon for me as I think about the art and the business and how to, toe the line between both. Yeah. Who's an icon that you look up to?
It's definitely Jay-Z as well. Yeah. And like Kendrick. Those are like my two goats. And like it's exciting because Kendrick is like my generation of like coming up. I was like catching up on Jay-Z when I was growing up. He was dropping like the Black album, but I didn't really know what was going on in like the context of hip hop. But I have gotten to see Kendrick's journey. And it's cool to now see him kind of branch off and start doing PG Lang.
Yeah.
And start to like really learn his power as like a creative individual, but also someone who's like, speaks for people and is like a real leader in a sense. And to see him kind of learn to navigate that and his relationship with like, the visuals and the creative and the marketing and like the lack of marketing that is marketing. Yeah, or just like the tweet, like, but see people, to me, both of them have stayed very like, they have not catered to what's popular. Like they have grown and they have evolved over the course of their careers. And it's like they have not stayed one person. The albums sound different. The thoughts that they're providing on each album is different. And you see the business grow like kind of in tandem with that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that stuck out to me when I was going through your catalog of music, especially going from the more recent songs that you've dropped, towards like some like it's your music is really a reflection, it seems, of like what you're going through in your life. To like listen to Rugburn, and I did not think it was gonna be like kind of it's a love song or like a heartbreak song, and
100%. Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it seems like a reflection of what you're going through. Is that something that you you're intentional about, like similar to maybe how Kendrick or Jay-Z have kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why there's been so much time since I dropped a real full length, is I wanted to take my time and like figure out, who am I? What am I contributing? What's the space I'm taking up? What's the lane I want to fill? And in order to answer those questions, I needed to try a lot of things. And I needed to do a lot of self-reflection and be creative and find where my voice sat and what came easy to me and what didn't come easy to me. And I think If I May is the closest example of like things that I was like living and writing and talking about and feeling. And I think in this like couple year break, I've been trying to sharpen other tools, like learn how to, write hooks, learn different flows, like learn how to write on different kinds of beats. And I was like in my hot girl era, I was like turning up, and it was like post COVID, and I went through like a self transformation, and I was definitely out here on like my player shit. And like Some Like It Hot was like the soundtrack for that. So I was very much living that, but it wasn't vulnerable.
All right. The cover art was, it was pretty
The cover art was vulnerable, for sure. But actually, what's really a bummer about that was phase one. I had an EP follow-up that was going to be called Speak of the Devil. So Some Like It Hot, Speak of the Devil. That was going to be like the trauma-informed version of Some Like It Hot.
Oh, shit.
It was going to be like, how I got there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Why I was feeling that way and why I was doing what I was doing.
So like the prequel.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes.
The backstory.
Yeah. So it was going to be like a setup. It was going to be like, here I am, like naked on the cover art. And everyone was like, oh my God, Wynne sold out. She's fucking naked. She's dropping a song called John Ware. And then Speak of the Devil was going to be like here's the story. And then I was gonna put those together and make an album. But Speak of the Devil got absolutely fucked into oblivion. Like, it was like a year's battle of like trying to get the songs right, but sticking conceptually with an EP is like tough because it's so short. And really what ended up fucking us was samples. We had like, there were only a couple, we had released a couple of the songs as singles, like Rug Burn, like Cut and Paste, but.
That's a slap, by the way.
Thank you. But two out of the 3 new songs on the EP got like such bad sample clearances that like, they're just not solvable. Sometimes you can like, you know, throw a bag if it's reasonable, or you can like replay it with a different musician, but both of these samples were instances that we cannot solve.
What do you mean sample clearance? What is that?
So like when you sample a song, it's typically like you're taking an old recording from, or any recording from some other song, and you're reinterpolating it, resampling it into your own music. So a lot of the songs that you know and love might have a chopped up sample from a song from the 70s, or they might have a guitar lick from a song from a year ago. All that is owned by somebody. So you can't just use it and put it in your own music, because it's somebody's intellectual property. So you've got to clear those things. Usually if you're using the actual recording, like if I take an Isley Brothers sample and I'm taking their recording and I'm like throwing it into my machine and chopping up and using it, I have to clear the master side, which is owned by the label, and I have to clear the publishing side, which is owned by the publisher. And those 2 things are 50% of the composition. So when you're using somebody's recording, you have to typically pay to use it.
You got to pay both sides.
You got to pay both sides.
Publishing and
master.
And master. Okay.
Yes. Or if you're not using the master, but if you're just like playing, like we had a sample on Roll Call that was like a lick that was on, I Know It From Explosion on Dr. Dre's album, or on Erykah Badu's and Bag Lady. But we didn't use the actual recording of the sample. We just replayed it with the saxophone. It went ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. So we didn't have to clear the master, just the publishing.
Oh, okay.
But in these 2 sample situations, it was like the master is owned by Diddy, so we weren't gonna get it cleared. And it was gonna cost a shitload of money. And then the other sample was like, some people.
They wanted you to pay for the lawyer?
They want you to pay for everything, bro. They want you to pay for their sample clearance, bill shares. They want you to pay for like the actual recording. And they're trying to think about like, how many streams is the song gonna get? Like how much is, which is like, you don't get paid shit for streams. So they put insane price tags on things that like independent artists can't afford. And some people make original samples. So they compose, you know, they sit in their room and it's like piano, keys, whatever, vocals, and they make original samples. And they send them out as like sample packs. And there's some people who are so talented at making them. It's such a dope form of expression.
So like I could follow the explosive beat and make my own original sample. Like
You could do that, but you wouldn't fully own it because like you didn't write it.
I didn't write it. But then I could sell it to you, or you could buy it from me.
Correct. But like I would then be paying you for the master, like your recording of it, but the publishing still would be owned by whoever originally wrote it.
Even because it follows the same harmony or melody or whatever.
Yeah. But I'm thinking like it's totally original. Like you go, you sit down at the piano and you're like, I'm gonna write a song for Brennan. And you just write your own song. And then I might hear that and be like, ooh, I want to use that in a beat. And then I could hit you up and get, you know, the master and the publisher cleared, but it would be different. But nevertheless, I could not get these samples cleared for shit. So we had to cancel the project.
Damn.
Yes.
That's wild.
It was extremely whack, but I think it was for the best because now I get to work on my album. And I'm excited about that. I'm now in that place where I can make an album.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to hear.
Halftime.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
How y'all doing? How long did it take y'all to make it? Hand sewn? Probably like 3 days. Well, for 2 of them.
Oh, that's wild.
Real fan.
Good. Just say full.
My family's here, my team's here, my friends are here. It's gonna be fucking crazy.
Is it a video?
A media pass because I was snapping
You were
some
shooting,
photos.
yeah.
You had
Yeah, that
some
was
video.
tight. I liked seeing you and Shawnee run around with the camera. That was fire.
Yeah, and all that content. Never seen the light of day. I got it though. You know what I mean? It's on my
to see it
computer.
sometime.
There's some good shots. There's some good moments.
Oh yeah.
I'm a motherfucking dog, mirror on the wall, who's the baddest of them all? He called me Moran, no one's fucking with my jaw. I'm his little cutie, but he got me saying, I only bust it open for a real one. Say you can't side, I don't even feel none. If I throw it back, beat it like a steel drum. It's been a minute, baby, I just need to feel some.
And I wanna say this. Where we're going, where you and I are going, you don't get there unless you have an undying, unconditional love for what it is. Not for what you want it to be, not for what you hope it is, but for what it is. I love you so much. Deeply, I love you.
See Riley's face right now.
I don't know if I'm in focus. It's a blessing that we're out right now.
We about to get drunk.
Damn, I'm pretty flush this bomb.
I'm not. I'm not.
Portland showed you a bunch of love.
Mad love, yeah.
There was a lot of people there, and I thought it was just really cool to see folks know the lyrics to your song
Yeah, me too.
and sing it or rap it, and all different ages too.
Yeah,
You have some older fans,
I do.
but then you also have some young high schoolers in there, and all of them are on the barricade, what,
Yeah,
It was-
it's strange. Well, I have a pretty eclectic catalog, I think, to a certain extent. I think a lot of those older fans are your heads, and they came up watching me do ciphers, and they're they know Wynne as an MC, underground MC, whereas the high school kids might know me more from John Morant, but they all appreciate it all. So they come to the show and they rock out together. And Portland, I think, is a unique market for me because I think there's I think a lot of people in the city know of me. So I think a lot of people pull up just curious, what's a Wynne show look like?
Yeah. Yeah, Portland uniquely embraces expression.
Yeah.
That's what I love about our city.
Yeah.
Is that if you're out here doing something that's different or artistic, or you have your own spin to it or whatever, Portland's a good place to be for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Portland embraces people, accepts people as they are for the most part. It's very creative out here. You're allowed to be weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Which is important. It's not a lot of places where you're just allowed to be super weird.
Right.
For better or for worse.
Or actually encouraged,
Yeah. Totally.
Keep Portland weird, and
Yeah.
which is really the node to individualism, be who you are.
Yeah.
And you can be comfortable in that. And so, I appreciate that about our city.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, on the tour, this being your first headline
Yeah.
tour, if there were any moments that stick out to you as particularly moving.
Wow, there were a lot. yeah, it's weird because like before I went on the tour, I was like, I shouldn't be going on a headline tour. Like no one's gonna pull up because you don't know your fan base. Like in 2024, like unless you've like been on the road a lot, which I've only done one tour and it was as an opener with Earth Gang and Mick Jenkins.
Yeah.
It's like my fans are online, you know, like they're followers. They're on my Instagram, they're on my Twitter. So I was like, I don't know what to expect. Are people gonna show up?
Yeah, that's crazy, yeah.
And like they did. So I was kind of like taken aback. Like, wow, not only are people showing up, but they have stories to my music. They have like experiences and have made friendships through my music. Like they know the words. Things have gotten them through things. Like there's a, like they feel like they know me, you know? So it was like, and there's a level of like feeling like I know them, you know? Like we're unified over this thing that is coming from my brain that, you know, we're at this concert and there's, you know, like 100 of us and we're just like turning up to this like music that like most people don't know. It's like we're like very unifying and really humbling, like just to meet how many people. And a lot of those fans, like they aren't always the same fans that are in the comments. Like a lot of these fans, because there's a lot of fans I have that I feel like I know because they've been following me for 6 or 7 years. So I'm like, oh, I know this person, I know this person.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of my biggest fans who pulled up with like custom merch or people who had like, they'd tagged me for the first time on their Instagram. And like, I was kind of surprised, like, wow, some of my biggest fans are people who I'd never even knew about.
Like they're shadow followers, like they're just not very active, but they're watching or listening.
Then I think about myself and I'm like, I guess I'm kind of like that as a fan. You know, like I think about my fans as the people who message me and the people who comment, but I don't comment on posts either.
Right.
I don't message people, but I'm a huge fan of people.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't know. I just like, I live by their music, but I'm not like in their comments like, love this. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So it was very eye-opening.
Yeah. That's funny. I'm not that type of fan either. But when I was in Miami for Art Basel this year, you always see like somebody. Because you know, a lot of people go down there. But I've become, like we were talking about, a fan of the arts, and I saw Hebrew Brantley.
Crazy. Crazy.
And I'm a big Shadow fan of Hebrew Brantley. I've been following him for a long time, and like.
Totally.
You know, I've had my eye on works and haven't pulled the trigger on one. And I found him or discovered his art. I was in some city and he had his little that figure with like the space helmet on or whatever and the goggles. And it was on this construction site and there was like, you know, the wooden the wood is surrounding the construction site. It's like this tall wall, and it was just like the continuation of this, you know, this kid like space figure around the wall. And I was like, hold on, I've seen that before. Oh, this is Hebrew Brantley. And then the Chance the Rapper song was like house covered in Hebrew Brantley, or however it went. It was like, okay, that kind of doubled down. I was a big fan of Chance too. So then I'm following Hebrew. So anyways, I ended up seeing him in Miami, and and I'll just go now. Like if I see somebody that I respect, that I admire, that I like want to talk to, I will not talk to him.
Oh, that's nice.
I made it up in my mind, like you gonna know that I fuck with you. So I went up to him, and first of all, big guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Oh, I've never seen what he looks like.
He's a solid 6'3". Like he was like looking me in the eye, you know, shook his hand, bigger hands than I expected. Just like, he's a big dude. And I wasn't put off by the size, but I was also in this place where I'm like a little bit starstruck.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I'm a fan.
Oh yeah.
But to your point, this guy doesn't know me. I don't comment on this shit. I don't really DM him, but I just let him know like, yo, I really appreciate your art. Fuck with your shit. And after, it was a little bit awkward because there was just like a weird pause where there was like, okay. He was like, thank you. I was like, yeah.
Right.
You know, this kind of like, I kind of wanted to ask, like, so can we connect, bro?
Right.
I want to connect.
Right.
And then I ended up asking. He's like, yeah, just hit me on Instagram. Like, I'm on IG. And then we walked away, and my girlfriend Shawnee was like, you were nervous, huh?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be? That's crazy.
Yeah. But no, I can imagine for fans of you when they see you in person, you know, in concert.
Totally.
It was probably a similar effect that you have on your face.
Yeah, it was weird. I experienced it in Portland, like, you know, whenever I'm outside, but to be in a different, you know, to be in Houston or to be in fucking Baltimore.
Right.
I don't expect it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which cities did you stop in on the tour?
We did 11 or 12 cities.
Okay.
So we started in San Francisco, went down through the south, up to the east, and then back through the middle to like Denver, and then back up to Seattle and Portland.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but there were a lot of great shows. The ones that really stood out to me were opening night, San Francisco was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was just so nervous. It was like my first show. My family had come out to see it because it was like my first show.
Right.
And it was awesome. The fans were so kind and showed so much love and knew so many words to so many songs throughout my catalog. It wasn't just like they knew Some Like It Hot. It was like they knew shit from like If I May. And then Dallas was iconic. Dallas was sick. We had a great show in Dallas. That was probably one of our bigger shows. And it was like a pretty big venue. And it's tough when you get like a massive stage because, you know, you want to take up enough space and engage with fans on both sides. So it was like kind of like a cardio workout, but it was sick. It was a lot of fun. And New York was insane. Yeah, we played SOBs.
Okay.
And it ended up being this, we played New York the same day that there was like a big flood in New York last year. And so like most of the city was shut down. So I was nervous the show was going to get canceled and nobody was going to pull up. And we still had like almost 100 people in there, just like packed out, having fun. And normally those bigger cities, like they're a little jaded. They don't want to, because everybody goes to New York. Everybody's in LA.
Right.
Those two cities is like kind of a tough market. So I was like, I didn't know what to expect with New York. And I had like some team members pulling up too. But they went insane. I was not expecting it.
And you said you played at SOBs?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like where is that?
It's like a legendary, where exactly is SOBs? It's in Manhattan. It's in Manhattan.
Okay. Cool.
But it's just a legendary venue. Like all the hip hop greats came up and played through SOBs. It's just like, it's a staple venue.
Cool.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have fans that like come up and share. You said they kind of like grown together with you.
Oh yeah, totally.
And you've helped them maybe get through something, or just they have like stories to your music.
Yeah.
You create moments to be able to have that exchange.
Definitely.
With the fans.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of like, I mean, I think during the show there's a lot of like engagement, but particularly after the show, I would stay and I would meet every fan. And they would, you know, pull up and we'd talk for a few minutes and have a moment. And also during, I had that song Wife with Chris Patrick, and I would pull up a fan on stage and they would come like rap the lyrics. I had like a basketball hoop on stage, so I had fans like shooting on the hoop. It was tight. It was kind of like a hangout.
Yeah. You could do one super fan shout out right now.
One super fan shout out?
Yeah. Somebody who's held you down from the beginning, from the jump, still rocking with you.
Well, I gotta shout out my guy Glue.
Hell yeah, Glue.
My guy Glue. His real name is Elmer, but he's been holding me down since like probably like 2015, 2014. Like when I low key, like my very first project was called The Snowball Effect. I dropped it when I was 18, and like it's not out there anymore. It was on Bandcamp, but I have fans who like listen to that instant. He's one of those who like still raps with me.
Shout out to Glue. Yeah. And that's a nickname. You've renamed Elmer.
Well, he has Glue, like Elmer like glue.
Oh, okay.
But he like those white glue, so Glue. But I could have. I'm a good renamer, so.
Hell yeah. That's dope.
Yeah.
So I was doing my research and I learned that your grandpa's a legend.
He is a legend, yeah.
Your grandpa, Rich Brooks, is an absolute legend.
Yeah.
He's a football coach for almost 2 decades with the Oregon Ducks, University of Oregon. And the field at Alton Stadium is named after Rich Brooks.
Yeah.
Your grandfather.
Yeah.
He coached in the NFL for a season, and then was
Seasons, yeah.
2 seasons.
Oh, he was on multiple teams
Oh, okay,
for a
gotcha.
while, yeah.
He was with the Rams for a
He
second.
was with the Rams and with the Falcons, yeah.
So, and then at University of Kentucky.
Yeah, he was kind of all around. Like, as my mom was growing up, they moved a lot. I know he was at Oregon State for a little while. He was at UCLA. And then obviously Oregon was like his longest, most historic stint. And then he was in the NFL when I was like, before I was born, and then when I was really young, was doing like Falcons when they went to the Super Bowl and the AFC champions.
Oh, wow.
And I think that was in 90. I almost wore the sweatshirt today. That was in 94. And then he was at the Rams in St. Louis. And then he like retired for a year. And then Kentucky called him and he picked up the head coach job. And he was there for probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you experienced a lot of football in your childhood.
Gosh, a lot of football. Big football family, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of like, we would go, because my family's like very supportive, like of everyone in the family, like everyone's pretty supportive. So there was like every Saturday we were putting on the games, watching them, like tears, like so invested. We would go out every year for the first game against Louisville. And then we would go out when they had bowl games at the end of the year.
Okay.
The whole family.
And you're getting the inside look experience. Like,
Yeah. Which was
sideline, locker room, the whole.
I know, because I was like a little girl.
Right. Okay.
So I wasn't allowed in the locker room, but my brother was.
Okay.
And I would come, like, I'd pull up, me and my cousin Siri, we would go to like some of the practices sometimes. And like, we would like get to meet some of the players. But my brother would like, he would consistently go to practice. He would be on the field. He'd be in the locker rooms. We'd be up in like the coach's box with like my grandma.
Stoked.
It was lit. It was really lit, yeah.
Yeah. That's.
It was special. It was a really special time, yeah.
And the music game is pretty competitive.
Oh, yeah.
It's a competition.
Oh, yeah.
You came up in the world of football,
I did.
you know, so you're cut from a competitive cloth.
Very much so.
Has that experience in football influenced how you think about the music game? Or there's some things that you pull from old Coach Brooks'
Definitely.
coaching playbook?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, my grandpa's a legend, like, in Oregon and in football. But, like, he's just an incredible person. Like, he's just a great human being. And I think that was, like, I feel like I learned a lot of lessons through him just, like, talking at family dinners and, like, as a coach, who he is, and like as a mentor to like a lot of like young men, and became like a father figure to a lot of them, and just like, yeah, what it means to move as a team, to be like a leader in some sort, and like the humanity of people, definitely taught me a lot about that. And I think my competitive edge, like, there was a lot of like football watching, but I was an athlete myself. I played soccer and basketball. And some people say basketball is like the fifth element of hip hop. It's like basketball and hip hop are so intertwined to me. And actually, it's funnily enough, my other grandpa was a basketball coach.
Really?
My dad's dad.
Oh, wow.
So we had a very athletic family. My dad played basketball. My aunts played basketball. My brother played basketball. And yeah, he was a women's basketball coach, and actually way back helped kind of pioneer the women's size basketball.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. So definitely some competitive people in the family. But I think the biggest part was just like learning how to move as a team, or like learning how to operate together and like have a common goal in mind, and like aligning people with your vision.
Right.
And like staying focused.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's something that you were able to pick up.
Yeah.
You know, and something that I didn't even think about is like, obviously that's your grandfather. And so that like, it was actually probably less about football, more about the man.
Yeah, it was like, damn, that's my grandpa.
Yeah, and those lessons that probably what made him passionate about coaching was more about the team aspect, the humanity element of it, more so than the wins and losses. So I'm sure that's what you know, he probably liked to talk about at the dinner table or, you know, whenever he saw you.
Totally.
You talked about women's basketball.
Yeah.
You did the University of Oregon women's basketball anthem.
I did, yeah.
That's fire.
It was sick, yeah.
How'd that happen?
They reached out to me. I think it was the marketing department who was working on like the campaign for the women's team. I think that was 2021. They might have reached out in 2020. And I went to the University of Oregon, so they knew that I made music and that I had kind of built a following, and they thought it would be fitting to have a woman who played basketball and went to the University of Oregon to like make the anthem for them. So it was a lot of fun. It was like a unique project for me because I haven't made like an anthem for a team. Like, it's not really the way like my brain works when I'm like writing a song. But it was a cool, unique challenge, and we produced it as well. So it was fun to make the beat for it and come up with like a, you know, like a call and response kind of hook. Oregon has so many moments at, I suppose I think of like the football games, but you know, they have Shout at the end of the third quarter. I've got that Matt Kearney song they play. They used to have Return of the Quack. Like when I feel like back when we had like Michael James, like a long time, there was like Return of the Quack. And they would, so I was like, okay, there's like a high standard of like anthems that the university has. And I wanted to contribute something that was like impactful in some way.
So they play it at the women's basketball game?
I don't know if they're still playing it or if it was like for that season.
But they were playing it.
Yeah. It was
Were the girls fucking with it?
I think so. I hope so. They seem to fuck with it.
Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah.
I went to my first University of Oregon football game since I played against them as a freshman at Cal.
Crazy.
Yeah, I just went to the Oregon-Washington game. It was the last game of
I was there too.
the regular season. It was cracking.
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny because like the last time I was there was freshman year of college, playing against them on the field.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing, but I was there.
Yeah.
You know. And then I went to a ton of games as a junior, senior in high school as I was getting recruited, doing like the unofficial visits, like being on the sideline and stuff. And so it was funny to go back, and I was, you know, down on the sideline and like still being able to see the other recruits, those young kids who are coming now and like trying to make the decision.
Right.
There was one kid from, it was cool. It was cool, you know. It was just like, there was also a good amount of people that I knew on the sideline, and just, you know, being here locally, still have that connection to the school where I know coaches and folks on the sideline. So the Central Catholic head coach, Charlie Landgraf, was there at the game. He's on the sideline because he has a player, a left tackle who's being recruited by Oregon. He was trying to decide between Oregon and Washington.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
And it was the game.
He's got to go.
So I was like, hey, you got to go with whoever wins, you know? Just joking with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like to be able to ask him, because he's at Central Catholic. I graduated from Central Catholic. So like it was in very similar shoes.
Yeah.
And just ask him how he's feeling, you know, how you feeling about the process, like making your decision, you know, are you stressed about it, whatever. And then, you know, just give him like advice that used to help me, give him the same advice, like back to what we were talking about. It's like how adults' words when you're, you know, coming up can really like make an impact on you. And so I remember like what people used to tell me, and like taking the pressure off was always the big thing that I appreciated when people would do that, you know, like you can't make a wrong decision.
Right.
That's what I told him.
Yeah.
Like, bro, any decision you make, be fine.
Yeah.
Follow your heart.
That's good advice.
You know, because he already knows where he wants to go. He's leaning a certain way, like inevitably.
They're both great schools.
Yeah. And you have a favorite, you don't even got to tell me. I don't even want to know. Just follow your heart, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
Good advice.
Yeah.
Is that the same coach that he's being coached by that you have?
No. So Coach Pine was my coach. He was at Central for a long time. Like, great, one of the best coaches in Oregon high school football history.
Wow.
But he's coaching up in Union. And Charlie used to play at Oregon. He was an offensive lineman at Oregon.
Yeah, I feel Charlie Landgraf.
Landgraf.
I feel like I know that name.
He's a couple years younger than me, so You guys were probably at Oregon at the same time, actually. So I'm 31, so I think maybe he's 29. But he played on the football team. Now he's the head coach at Central, and they went to the semifinals this year, lost in the semis, unfortunately. So we got some work to do next year, but he's a good dude.
Yeah. Do you ever pull up at the practices?
I haven't yet.
Yeah.
That's something I want to do, though.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah. It's like I get a way to stay connected to the game and just,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like, how hard is it to, I mean, when you're an athlete, like it's your life every day.
Yeah.
Like it's everything you're thinking about. It's like, it's kind of like art in a way where it's like your lifestyle is very much like your career. So what does that feel like to now be moving on from that chapter of your life? And like, there's probably some kind of like grieving process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a tough transition because, I feel like we talked about injuries earlier. And I was injured through high school, through college and stuff, and I knew that the game was gonna end at some point for me, and I have a lot of passions outside of the game, so was always not preparing for the end, but like I knew it was gonna come eventually, and so like to start the creative business and have the like nonprofit and all these other things that I was doing that I felt would like soften the blow when it finally came, to stop playing ball. And maybe it did a little bit, but it still cuts deep.
Still hits, yeah. I remember when on like a way smaller scale, like when I stopped playing sports in high school, because I had those 3 shoulder surgeries and it was like, you're done.
Yeah.
And I remember that transition being like, oh damn, like I don't have like a season I'm preparing for. I don't have like a team. Like you spend so much time with that community that it's like, it's weird when you lose it. I can't imagine having it for so long on that level.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a tough transition.
Yeah. 22 years play football.
Yeah.
And what's helped me is kind of like writing the feelings down, like expressing it.
Yeah.
I dropped a retirement video when I officially announced it.
Yeah.
And I felt like it took a lot of weight on my shoulders, off of my shoulders, because I like reflected on my experience and like my feelings of like actually sharing the news, made it real.
Yeah.
Right, where I like had really no intentions to play, maybe still like the slightest hope that somebody would call me.
Right.
But it was like, at some point, like I gotta hang them up and tell everybody it was tough to just like click post on Instagram,
Right.
And so I had like my whole caption all written out. I had the video been edited, and I was just struggling to press post. And then I was like, you know what? Like, let me write down how I'm feeling right now and why I'm feeling this way. And I came to the realization as I was writing it out that it was like, why it's so difficult is I'm committing to change.
Yeah.
My life is going to change. And this is actually like the commitment to it. And then I started to unpack that, like what's it mean to be fearful of change, right? But that's like the most natural part of all of our lives. Shit's gonna change, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
But actually, what I realized, like a scarier thing than change is something not changing.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? If like everything stayed the same our whole lives, it would suck.
Yeah, it would suck.
So it's like you're actually committing to this change, which is like the best thing possible.
Right.
It's like it's a blessing.
It's like the most bittersweet thing when you're closing one chapter and inevitably you're opening another one, and you don't know what's in store. Like it's nice that you had a pillar of like creativity and journaling. Like obviously it's like a huge help, but like you're jumping into the unknown, which is like as equally scary as it is exciting, but it's like, it's different. It's change. And it's just, it's scary. I can't imagine.
This is my football field now.
Yeah. It's just fucking
You see this little carpet? This is my hydration right here.
We need like
a little muck. Yeah, no, we should for sure. Yeah. These polo penny loafers is my cleats.
Fire.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good sweat.
We're getting it.
Cleats probably not quite as comfortable.
No, there's not.
I wouldn't think
some
so.
dress socks in there too.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. Good situation. this is gonna bring you all kinds of new conversations and like just like fruits of like a new labor. It's interesting. Yeah. It's gonna like fuel you in such a different way.
Fruits of a new labor. That's fire.
Yeah.
That's a bar.
Thank you. That's what I do.
It literally is what you do. It is what you do.
Yeah.
Wynne, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's been an honor.
It's been dope. And cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to another episode of B-Scar TV.
B-Scar TV.
Appreciate y'all. Peace. Leave us a review. Drop a comment. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? Who do you want to hear from? We would love to hear from you.